Today I'm going to be creating a really easy bookish tag for the prompt of bookshelf for Junk Journal January day 22. Hey, it's Meg, welcome back to my channel. So I'm just showing you here some examples of pages in previous journals where I've included themes of books or reading, documenting the books that I've read or something that I'm currently reading. And I thought that it would be fun to create a tag to use within my journal. So if you saw my video yesterday, you'll know that I was kind of debating whether I wanted to work on this page or whether I wanted to start on a new one. And I thought that although the floral on the right hand side of this page is pretty, it still feels quite bland, but I also didn't necessarily want to cover it up. So I thought what I would do would be to just create on a tag for today's prompt. So it's a really great way if you just want to sit down for 5 minutes to create something, and you can still include it within your journal. So that's what I was doing. So I printed out a library card printable that I found online. I'll leave a link down below if you want to use the same one. And I also printed out the cover of a book that I'm reading at the moment, which is Yellow Face by R.F. Kuang. And so I wanted to use this as a way of kind of documenting what I'm currently reading for this prompt of bookshelf. And so I'm just working here to figure out how much of the library card I wanted visible on the tag. And then once I had that in mind, I actually decided to get out my typewriter, because with the library card thing, I was thinking like sort of a vintagey twist to things. So I wanted to use my typewriter, and actually as I'm talking about this now, I'm realizing that I had a real missed opportunity and I should have used my office date stamp, because that's obviously what you use to check a book out of a library. So I actually might go back and include that on the page. I used to love when you'd see stamps and sometimes they'd have tried like 3 or 4 times and there'd be like little ghost ones. So actually thinking about it now, I might go back and do some extra stamping on this page. But yeah, so I just typed out the title and the author name, put the date, and then I put currently reading. But then when I realized I cut out the book cover and it was too big, so I had to cover up the currently reading text, which was okay, but it wasn't something that, I don't know why I didn't think that it would cover up that space. So I'm just gluing it down here onto the tag, and I ended up just wrapping it round onto the other side of the tag. I wasn't too bothered about it cutting off slightly. I think I quite liked that effect. So you'll see I left a bit of a gap on the left hand side there, which kind of made it look a bit more intentional and like I meant to do that. So if you're ever finding yourself in that position where, you know, my tag was not the same size as the printout that I had, then just do something to make it look like you meant to do it the whole time, and no one will be any the wiser unless they're telling you about it on a voiceover on a YouTube video. But yeah, so I just glued this on top, and then what I decided to do was come in with my favorite Tombow pen, and I did the lettering like along the side up the edge here, and I just used some like cursive type writing here. And I think I really enjoyed actually the bold effect that this had and the contrast between the typewritten font and then this bolder text here. So I'm just filling in some of the gaps where I wanted the letters to be really bold. And then to help the book cover stand out a little bit, I decided to come in with my white pen. Now this is a white Uniball Signo. It's my favorite white pen. It's near enough my only white pen that I use apart from the paint markers that I have. I just find that it works really well and it's really opaque. So that's what I like to use within my journal pages. And then I also just made a note with a Unipin fine liner that I was actually listening to this on audio, because sometimes it's a different experience to obviously read a book physically versus listening to an audiobook. I'd love to know whether you prefer physical books or audiobooks. I think both are great, especially as I can sort of multitask a little bit and have an audiobook on whilst I'm doing a crochet project or doing something else. So I definitely do enjoy both formats. But if you have read anything great recently, I'd love to know your recommendations for books that you've read, or let me know something that you're maybe excited to read for this year if you set yourself any reading goals. And so, because this prompt was bookshelf, I figured that I needed to add some book text collage to this tag because it just fits the theme perfectly. So I decided to just tear off a few small pieces here in a couple of different tones of book page, and just to add them to the top. I didn't want it to take over the tag too much because I didn't have a huge amount of room, but I just wanted to have that little bit of detail and collage going on the tag to give it a bit more interest, because this was a pretty simple tag. It was quite quick and easy to do, but I still wanted it to look like there was still those little bits of detail. So you can see here I'm coming in just with a bit of scribbling on my neo colour just to help it to blend in as well, I think, with the sort of look and feel that I've gone for with this journal. And then I was thinking about whether that was going to be it or whether I wanted to add anything else to this tag. And what I decided to do, because I had my sewing bits out from adding the stitching on yesterday's prompt, what I decided to do was just to do some stitching, just like a few little straight lines, but I actually had this little tear off of some scrapbook paper. So I'm just sort of seeing here how it will sit on the tag, because I didn't want to cover up too much, obviously, of the book cover itself. So I'm just sort of positioning it where I think it might look okay on there. And then normally I staple these onto my tag or my page or whatever I'm doing, but I actually decided, what if I use the stitching as a way to attach the tab to the tag? Maybe that might be fun. And so I just did a couple of simple stitches here along the edge, and I think it actually turned out quite well. It's pretty secure. It's basically my attempt at doing some stitching on things without knowing how to use my sewing machine. I definitely think that my 2024 goal should be to learn how to use my sewing machine, because I'd love to do some like actual proper sewing on my journal pages. I absolutely love the look of it, but my sewing machine just terrifies me. It always bunches up and then I get frustrated, and so I don't have the patience for it. So hand stitching for me is a lot more therapeutic, and I feel like I can't go wrong with it as much. So it's just a lot easier. Plus you don't have to like set up the sewing machine and have it out and all the rest of it. You can just sort of dip in and out and do a little bit of hand stitching, and I think it adds quite a nice charm to your page as well sometimes. So it was a fun way to sort of experiment with adding my tab to my tag, and I think it really pulled the whole thing together, gave it a nice little eclectic touch. And so I think with this being a really chunky journal, as it is anyway, it was quite nice to work on something smaller, and it definitely made me want to create some more tags for future projects. I haven't created many, and this definitely inspired me to want to play around with those some more and working on a smaller surface. So that is everything for today's video. I hope you enjoyed hanging out with me and journaling along with me. As always, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye guys!